Resident Evil 2 has been covered to death at this point. We all know the history, we all know how fantastic it plays, and we all know that this was not the first version they developed. Since a prototype leaked onto the internet back in 2013, a modding team led by Dark Biohazard or Martin Biohazard seeked to take this unfinished build and transform it into a more complete product. It was dubbed the Magic Zombie Door build, or MZD for short. It's been nearly 10 years since they first began work on this project, and honestly, they've come a very long way. The last time I explored this build was back in late 2018, and as you can imagine, waiting 4 years to once again play the newest build means dramatic changes await you. For this video, I'm using the newest 2022 build dubbed 290122, and I'm using OpenEmu on the Mac to capture the footage. With that, let's dive into the world of Resident Evil. Resident Evil 1.5 starts off by letting you pick from two characters, Leon S. Kennedy and Elza Walker, the early version of Claire Redfield. After this, you get an intro slide scene, as I'll call it, of the events leading up to the present day. This was cool, I never saw this in the previous version and I love the imagery. Then, depending on who you play as, you'll start in different parts of the police department. Leon starts on the heliport and you get to see a helicopter leave him behind, and he has no choice but to find another way out of the nightmare. Elza begins in the heart of the terror, crashing her now tattered bike through the window and deploying a shutter that halts the zombies from coming in. She knows time is against her, and with no one around, she also has to fight for her life. Leon begins with a gun and ammo, whereas Elsa starts with a knife, although you can acquire a gun quickly if you pick the correct path. After this, the game requires you to check each room, solve puzzles to advance to other rooms, and to try and find other survivors that are dotted around the station. Although most of the game plays out the same, the different characters, cutscenes, and starting locations will dictate how you, the player, will approach each aspect of the station. Some puzzles only work for specific characters, such as Leon needing to find a fire extinguisher to rescue Ada from a burning police van, while Elsa needs to find Roy in order to let John out from the prison area and have him as an ally. When you play, you will be exploring every nook and cranny because you have no idea what room connects to where, along with wanting to find out what lurks behind each new door. You'll find these shutters you can open and close at will, which I thought was an interesting gameplay choice. I didn't really take advantage of this fact due to me using the debug menu often, so this migrated this gameplay mechanic. Events happen throughout the game and, admittedly, some of it can be disjointed. It's clear some story elements are missing, or perhaps the game was like the original where different cutscenes took place depending on which rooms you went in first. It is cool to see the story differences, and I love the bit where Sherry unlocks a door you need to go through. The cutscene that plays out is awesome. Regardless, you'll soon find the game is extremely difficult to play through, and it will punish you for bad decisions on your part. The zombies take a lot of damage, maybe too much damage, and every creature takes a long time to put down. Playing as Elsa especially, I had to try and dodge more than Leon as I could find a lot more ammo for him pretty quickly. Getting cornered is a common occurrence, and some rooms love to trap you with 2 zombies chomping away at you with no way to keep them back, unless you have the shotgun or machine gun of course. Another problem is that the item boxes do not work. This means once your inventory is full, you cannot discard anything. You are stuck with what you picked up, and it meant I couldn't pick up the shotgun or key items I needed to solve future puzzles I came across. By pressing the select button, you can jump to different rooms, and this is how I solved the problem of bypassing rooms I otherwise would have no access to. I was able to progress the story and end up in more rooms and locations. Although I was cheating, I did feel great knowing that I was going to see more of the work these incredible developers made on this project. Honestly, just playing this title is a miracle in itself. You have to remember that the 40% official build only saw a leak in 2013. For the team to take that build and then make this project is insanely awesome. These new connected rooms which actually feature puzzles you can solve, and adding to the fact that these developers had to make them from scratch, makes you appreciate the love and attention gone into making all this a reality. Speaking on that front, the graphics are very interesting to me. Unlike the released version, the interior is a modern police station, and I feel the design actually makes a lot more sense compared to the final release. The things you might expect to find in a police station exist here, and the colours also reflect the modern setting. It's really effective in creeping you out as the colours just stick out despite the simplicity of it all. Yes, in general, the overall look isn't as interesting as the final version, yet I still really enjoyed the environmental aspect, and seeing areas which aren't creepy for the pure sake of horror actually did make me feel uneasy going to explore, as I did not know what to expect. It was also great to see early versions of various areas which did return for the final release, and all of the new rooms made by the modders. The general graphics are pretty good too. The game uses detailed pre-rendered backgrounds, although it seems the quality is inconsistent, due in fact to the still early build presented here. The modders did a mostly good job integrating the new rooms, although some are not as presentable, but I can forgive this fact since this is not an official product after all. The dithering on display is very strong, the same as in the original game. Amazingly, the finished game has very little in comparison. The character models are, I'd say, Resident Evil 1 quality. The main characters animate well enough, but look a bit stiff. The zombies are low quality in comparison with poor animation, although there's a lot of them on screen which does add to the fear factor nicely. I still think the graphics are great overall, and I wouldn't have been too fussed had the game been released using what worked in the first game. I do like the way the character models start to deform as they take damage over time. While it doesn't help me figure out my health status, it's just a cool visual trick and a reminder of the battle you face trying to stay alive. It was brought back and improved in the remake. The sound and music are both great. It's not perfect as some areas have little environmental audio and missing sound cues, but what's there is very well done, and the music is definitely the highlight. Listen for yourself. Since I learnt about the cancelled Resident Evil 2, I was absolutely fascinated by it and why it was cancelled. I've always wondered if I would ever play it someday. My wish has now come true, and it's been worth the long wait. It's practically a new Resident Evil experience. I've played this using both emulation and my PlayStation 1 using the MZD Mod. Both work with no problems, and seeing it on real hardware is a huge joy for me. Look, this project has been incredible both to witness and play. I cannot say enough about it, and the fact the team stuck with this for practically 10 years is just wow. Capcom did make the right choice in the end to scrap this version and rebuild it from the ground up, but this is a great piece of history that we can now experience at last. The retro game community is amazing, and this is just one of the many projects out there that proves my point nicely. And there you have it. This game has been something I wanted to cover properly for a long time now, but I wanted to wait and see how much the project would progress over the years. I have no idea if the team will continue to improve the game or implement features to tidy it up, but as it is right now, it is a great game to play, and if you love old style survival horror games, this should be up your alley. You folks let me know what you think of this game, and hopefully, I'll see you guys again soon.